If you are afraid, we will look together. Those words flicker on a midnight television screen as a live image of the full moon looms, screams echoing faintly in the distance. For a moment, you're left frozen, heart pounding. This isn't a bad dream. It's Local 58, one of the internet's scariest analog horror projects. In the next few minutes, we'll tune into the disturbing world of Local 58, a fictional TV station hijacked by nightmares, and unravel the dark secrets hidden in its broadcasts. Local 58 is a horror web series created by cartoonist Chris Straub in 2015. If that name sounds familiar, it's because Straub also wrote the renowned creepypasta Candle Cove, another tale of eerie television. With Local 58, Straub pioneered what we now call analog horror, a subgenre that draws on vintage TV aesthetics, cryptic messages, and lo-fi chills. The premise is deceptively simple. Local 58 appears to be a public access TV station in Mason County, West Virginia, that for decades has had its signal hijacked by unknown forces. To understand the depth of Local 58's horror, let's tune in to some of its most infamous broadcasts. Each episode stands on its own, but together they paint a picture of media manipulated by a malevolent force. We'll focus on 4 key entries, each one a masterclass in analog dread, weather service, contingency, you are on the fastest route, and real sleep. The first episode, Weather Service, sets the unnerving tone. It's past midnight on Local 58. A calm announcer begins reading the late-night program schedule, when suddenly the signal cuts to an emergency alert. A message from the County Weather Service crawls across the screen, warning of a strange meteorological event outside. Viewers are urgently advised do not look at the night sky. Something dangerous is out there tonight. The broadcast says, this alert remains in effect until sunrise. But before we can even process that, the transmission glitches. Another signal hijacks the station. A new message overrides the warning. It insists the previous alert was false and the meteorological event is perfectly safe. It's now safe to go outside, it declares, even urging viewers to go look at the moon. Imagine your TV flipping between 2 authorities, one telling you to stay inside and hide, the other beckoning you to come out and gaze at something supposedly harmless. Finally, the hijacker wins. The emergency alert screen updates one last time with a chilling, cryptic promise. If you are afraid, we will look together. Immediately, the broadcast cuts to a live video feed of the full moon hanging in the night sky. And in the distance, we hear people screaming. Weather Service leaves us with more questions than answers. Why shouldn't we look at the sky? Who hijacked the signal to tempt people outside? And what fate awaited those who did? The episode hints at an otherworldly threat. Perhaps the moon itself is no mere rock, but something that can brainwash anyone who gazes at it. The next infamous broadcast, Contingency, looks and sounds like a vintage piece of Cold War paranoia. Local 58 has finished its late-night programming. The station is signing off for the night with the usual anthem and test patterns. Suddenly, the transmission is interrupted by an emergency message, this time from an official-sounding agency called the Department for the Preservation of American Dignity. Across the screen, over a backdrop of the American flag, scrolls a statement signed by President Lyndon B. Johnson. The message claims the United States has suffered total defeat at the hands of an unnamed enemy. The military is lost. The country has fallen. What comes next is unthinkable. As patriotic music wheezes in the background, the text calmly calls upon all Americans to act, not to resist, not to evacuate, but to preserve the nation's memory and dignity by ending their own lives. The instructions are chillingly detailed. Citizens are told it's their patriotic duty to commit suicide. Cease immediately any and all sensitive activities, it said, and if you have a firearm, use it on yourself. Local law enforcement, the message notes, will ensure your compliance. And it is against the law to delay. Then comes the victory position. You are to lie flat on your back, face up on your front lawn, as if symbolizing a proud, obedient farewell, and then pull the trigger. It's hard to overstate how disturbing this is. The manner of presentation, authoritative, measured, almost reassuring, makes it even more horrifying. Over idyllic B-roll of American life, city parks, bridges, neighborhoods, these suicidal orders roll out matter-of-factly. The contrast is nightmarish. It's as if a genuine government PSA from the 1960s suddenly went off the rails into apocalypse. The message concludes with the promise that this broadcast will repeat until there are none left to read it. Then, static. Abruptly, Local 58 cuts to another screen, this time claiming that the prior message was a hoax. An apology scrolls, saying, "We now resume normal programming." It seems like someone at the station finally stopped the madness. But just as you exhale, one more twist flashes by. Behind the apology, there's a hidden instruction card visible, one that instructs the station to pretend the broadcast was a hoax in case of accidental transmission. Contingency holds up a dark mirror to propaganda and wartime paranoia, asking how far a government might go, and it does so in the guise of a realistic vintage broadcast that leaves you feeling shaken long after it's over. You Are on the Fastest Route drags analog horror into the GPS age. This episode plays out as found footage from a car's dashcam dated 2014. At first, we see the normal view of a nighttime drive, while a friendly GPS navigation voice cheerfully directs the driver along highways. It's the kind of scene many of us have experienced.
Proceed to the highlighted route. Continue on Holbrook Park.
For a few seconds, there is radio silence. Just the crackle of the dashcam and the faint night sounds. Then, out of nowhere, an ear-splitting roar echoes from the woods. In a panic, the driver flips the headlights back on, and the camera catches a split-second glimpse of something towering on the road. In the beam of the headlights stands a bipedal creature, pale and nightmarish. The driver screams and floors the accelerator. The footage cuts to chaotic motion as the car attempts to flee. But the GPS's voice remains eerily calm, repeating, "Turn around. You have missed your destination." Over and over as the roars grow louder. Whatever was on that road is now chasing the car. The GPS begins counting down distance. 500 feet, 300 feet, 100 feet, as if the monster itself is the end destination.
In 500 feet, your destination will be on. In 300 feet, your destination. In 250 feet, rerouting. Your destination will be in 50 feet.
Suddenly, the video skips. A moment of static. And then we see the dashcam view at an odd tilted angle. The car has come to a stop, crashed and lying on its side, windshield shattered. Smoke drifts in front of the camera. There's no sign of the driver. The only thing breaking the dreadful silence is the recalibrated GPS voice, now slow and distorted, intoning, "You have arrived at your destination." Then, cut to black. "You are on the fastest route" is a modern urban legend come alive. It plays on a fear many of us never thought to have. What if your GPS led you somewhere you should never go? We trust these calm, robotic voices with our directions without a second thought. Here, that trust is exploited to luring someone into a deadly trap. The episode never explicitly shows what the creature is or who orchestrated this misdirection, but the implication is clear. Some external force hijacked the GPS navigation to prey on the driver. Our final stop is Real Sleep, an episode that invades the viewer's mind under the guise of a helpful tutorial. It begins with the fuzzy glow of a VHS tape. On screen, a title appears: Thought Research Initiative, Real Sleep Program. A friendly narrator asks, "Myth or fact? Do humans need dreams?" The video claims that dreaming is actually harmful, and that true rest can only be achieved by suppressing your dreams. It introduces the science behind this, something called the Kleitman map, a brainwave diagram named after real-life sleep researcher Nathaniel Kleitman, supposedly to help calibrate your mind for dreamless sleep. At first glance, it feels like a bizarre late-night infomercial or a dubious self-help VHS from the 80s. But as it continues, the Real Sleep program becomes increasingly menacing. The video instructs you to stare at the center of the screen. Strange, abstract faces begin flashing in your peripheral vision. It's jarring and uncomfortable. The narrator's voice, still upbeat, leads you through a series of sequences designed to erode your perception. In one sequence, two faces on screen slowly merge into one, then vanish. In the next, the voice tells you to repeat aloud the phrase, "There are no faces."
There are no faces. There are no faces. There are no faces.
On screen, distorted photographs of human faces strobe faster and faster, while you're told again, "There are no faces. There are no faces." The imagery becomes a chaotic assault. Disembodied eyes and mouths flashing at subliminal speeds, intercut with perplexing messages that burrow into your subconscious. By the final sequence, the Real Sleep program bombards you with rapid-fire commands and eerie visual stimuli. The screen blinks messages like "Surrender your mind" and "There are no faces" in split-second frames, almost too quick to consciously catch. The audio warps into a deep, slow mantra. "There are no faces," repeating as if to hammer the idea into your brain. If you're watching in a dark room, you might feel yourself entranced, eyes fixed to the screen. The video finally ends with a cheerful sign-off. Congratulations, you have completed the Real Sleep program. And a last piece of advice: avoid seeking medical attention. Then the tape fuzzes out. Real Sleep might be the most unsettling Local 58 episode because it directly involves you, the viewer. The other videos show horrifying events happening to others, but this one essentially tries to brainwash whoever is watching. As you follow its instructions, you become a participant in the horror. There's a moment many viewers realize with a shudder. You've been staring unblinking into the screen, and maybe, just maybe, murmuring, "There are no faces," along with the tape. It creates a feeling that your mind has been violated by the broadcast. Thematically, Real Sleep exploits fears of subliminal messaging and psychological manipulation. It's reminiscent of real-world experiments like MKUltra or sleep deprivation studies, but with a supernatural twist. One theory is that the Thought Research Initiative in the video is trying to stop people from dreaming so that something, perhaps the same force behind the moon transmissions, can control them more easily. Whether or not you buy that theory, the effect of the episode is undeniable. You finish watching feeling dazed, unsettled, and deeply paranoid about what you just let into your head. Why does Local 58 create such an intense sense of fear without a single traditional jump scare? The answer lies in its masterful use of atmosphere, suggestion, and our own imagination. This series preys on a fundamental human dread, the fear of losing trust in the signals and authorities we rely on. Each episode takes something ordinary, a weather alert, a government announcement, a GPS voice, a sleep aid video, and corrupts it. The horror isn't just in what we see, but in the realization that the very media meant to inform or protect us can betray us. Local 58 is more than a YouTube series. It's an experience that sticks with you. It scratches at that part of our psyche that fears what might be hiding behind the everyday signals and signs we take for granted. The next time you're alone late at night, flipping channels, or you hear the sudden blare of an emergency alert on your phone, you might feel a familiar prickle of dread. And think of Local 58. Each episode leaves us with a lingering question or an eerie aftertaste. Could this ever happen? Who is on the other side of the screen? After diving into these broadcasts, one unsettling question remains echoing in the static. What if Local 58 isn't just fiction? What if, somewhere out there, someone or something is really watching and waiting to hijack our signal next?